Have you ever found yourself scrolling through social media? You see the flashy cars, the amazing vacations, and you just think to yourself, how do people afford all of that? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain and look at the real financial picture for the average person. And let me tell you, the numbers might just shock you.
Okay, let's get right into it. And just to be super clear, this isn't about judging anybody, it's not about keeping up with the Joneses, it's about getting a baseline, a real financial reality check. You know, understanding where the average person is at can actually help you make much smarter choices with your own money. So think of it as getting some context, not as a competition. So here's what we're going to cover. We'll kick things off with that classic battle, what you're earning versus what you're spending. Then we're going to dive into the heavy weight of debt. After that, we'll get a pretty sobering look at the retirement reality for most people. We'll wrap up all the numbers with the ultimate financial scorecard, your net worth. But definitely stick around, because at the very end, I'm going to show you how you can not just meet these numbers, but blow right past them.
All right, let's start at square one, cash flow. What's coming in and what's going out? Your income is the absolute foundation of your financial life. So how does the average paycheck really stack up?
Okay, so the Bureau of Labor Statistics gives us this number. The median annual income for a full-time worker is about $52,000. Now, median just means if you lined up every single worker in the country from lowest paid to highest paid, the person smack dab in the middle makes this much. Half make more, half make less. But, and this is a huge but, this is before taxes.
And this is where that number does a bit of a magic trick, because after federal taxes, state taxes, Social Security, Medicare, that 52 grand can shrink all the way down to under $40,000. That is a huge difference. And that's the actual real number you have to work with for the entire year.
Now let's flip over to the other side of the equation, spending. This number represents the average annual spending for a household. And notice that key word there, household, not an individual.
Okay, let's connect the dots here, because this is where it gets a little scary. The average household is spending $67,000 a year, but the median individual is only bringing home maybe $35,000 to $40,000 after taxes. You see the problem, right? For any single income household out there, you're basically in the red before you've even had your morning coffee.
So where is all this money actually going? Take a look at this. The two biggest slices of the pie by a long shot are housing and transportation. I mean, together, they eat up more than half of the average household's entire budget. That's a massive chunk of your money gone before you've even paid for groceries or anything else.
So, if you're spending more than you earn, where does that extra cash come from? Well, for most people, the answer is pretty simple: debt. And as we're about to see, debt is a huge roadblock on the path to building any kind of wealth.
$9,000. That's the average amount of credit card debt for a U.S. household. And remember, this isn't debt for an asset, like a house that might go up in value. No, this is typically for stuff. You know, clothes, dinners out, new electronics, things that lose their value the second you buy them.
And this just perfectly illustrates how destructive that debt is. With an average interest rate around 20%, that $9 grand is costing you $1,800 a year. That's $150 a month that you are just lighting on fire, handing it straight over to the credit card companies for nothing. Just imagine what else you could do with that money.
But here's a little twist in the story that might surprise you. The average FICO score is actually 715, which is considered good credit. So what does that mean? It suggests that, for the most part, people are pretty good at paying their bills on time. It's kind of this weird paradox, right? We're good at managing the payments, but we're still drowning in all this high-interest debt.
Okay, deep breaths on this next one, everyone. We're about to talk about retirement. And for a lot of people, this is the big, scary monster hiding in the financial closet. So, are we actually saving enough for the future? Let's just look at the cold, hard numbers. This one is tough to swallow. 1 out of every 4 working-age Americans has $0. Not a little, I mean 0, saved for retirement. Nothing. Zilch. They are betting their entire future on Social Security, which, by the way, currently pays out an average of just over $1,500 a month. And for the people who are saving, well, the progress is painfully slow. As you can see here, the median balance for someone in their early 30s is only about $14,000. And even when you get all the way up to retirement age, the person right in the middle has only managed to scrape together about $88,000.
So what does that $88,000 in savings actually get you? Well, using a common rule of thumb, you can safely withdraw about 4% of that each year without running out of money. You know what that works out to? Less than $300 a month. So let me just ask you, could you live on that? For most people, that wouldn't even cover the grocery bill. Okay, so let's put all the pieces together. The single best number for measuring your overall financial health, your final grade, if you will, is your net worth. It's super simple. It's just everything you own minus everything you owe.
As you can see, net worth tends to grow pretty steadily over a lifetime, which makes sense. And the good news here is that you really don't need to be some Wall Street genius to hit these kinds of numbers. A little bit of discipline year after year goes a really long way. But the question is, can we do better than this?
And here it is. This one number explains so much of what we've just talked about. The average personal savings rate in the US is a tiny 6%. Think about that. When you're only putting away 6 cents of every single dollar you earn, it's really no wonder that debt is so high and retirement savings are so low.
Okay, I know, a lot of that was some serious doom and gloom. But I have some fantastic news for you. All those numbers we just went through, they shouldn't be discouraging. They should actually be empowering. And you might be wondering, why?
Because the single biggest takeaway from all of this is that the bar for average is surprisingly low. I mean, it's practically on the floor. You don't need to win the lottery. You don't need to get a 6-figure job to do better than this. You need a plan.
So here's the game plan. It's simple. First, forget that 6% savings rate. Just obliterate it. Aim for 10%, 15%, whatever you can. Second, make erasing high-interest debt your absolute #1 mission. Seriously, paying off a 20% credit card is like getting a guaranteed 20% return on your money. You can't beat that anywhere. And third, invest consistently. Put your money to work so it can start making money for you.
And that is the real secret. It's not about how much you make, it's about how intentional, how deliberate you are with what you have. See, the average person just kind of drifts into financial trouble. You can choose to be intentional. You can choose to steer yourself towards security and freedom.
So, we've seen the financial roadmap for the average person. And honestly, it's a path of high spending, a lot of debt, and a retirement that looks pretty insecure. But that does not have to be your path. You've seen the numbers, you know the stakes. So the only question left is, where do you want to go from here?